The Chargers have a chance to extinguish the Chiefs' playoff chances on Sunday, and I think Oronde Gadsden II needs a big game to get it done.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Droegemeier, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 10 seasons, but this is our 8th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Thank you for helping us be the #1 sports podcast network, and to make sure you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel, and listen wherever you get your podcasts from. David, what do we got today?
Daniel, the Chargers have a rare opportunity to sweep the Kansas City Chiefs this season, and on offense, if they want to be able to do it, they have to get OG Oronde Gadsden II involved early and often. He is one of the major catalysts of this offense. They're going to need him. And on defense, we know Patrick Mahomes is one of the most elusive quarterbacks in the NFL. He just always seems to just skirt away. The Chargers have to be ready to defend that and make sure that they get him on the ground. And of course, we finish this up with our bold and game predictions.
Could Omarion Hampton have his first 100-yard game since he's come back from injury? But we do have a lot to get to. It does start with the offensive keys for success here, and I think there's just been one thing kind of hanging over my head over the last few weeks, which is just like, where's Oronde Gadsden, right? Obviously took the league by storm, had an incredible 4-game stretch where he racked up 369 yards, but over the last, 4 games, he only has 7 combined catches for a total of 88 yards. And maybe we had too high of expectations because he got on the scene so quickly. But I do think that when you're looking at this Chiefs defense, that is one of the places they can be exploited and one of the places they were exploited in the first matchup, because this is a guy who wasn't around in week 1 to help them against this Kansas City Chiefs team. And it was, Tyler Conklin who had the big catch and run and then ended up fumbling it. But I do think there was something there, which is, someone like Nick Bolton, a very aggressive linebacker, bites hard on play action. And I think they could hit over the top someone like an Oronde Gadsden. And also, David, you need to be able to find some of those chunk plays. It was just tooth and nail for the entire game last week, outside of the Kamani Vidal 60-yard catch. Every other thing was 3-4 yards in a cloud of dust. They need to find some more of those chunks to make things a little bit easier on their offense. And I do think the other part this helps is the red zone, where last week they went 1 out of 3. They still ranked 26th in the NFL in touchdown percentage. Get Oronde Gadsden more involved to get those chunks between the 20s, and one of the most sure-handed guys some targets in the red zone to try to get 7 instead of 3.
Yeah, definitely not going to put the Chiefs away by scoring field goals. You have to score touchdowns. It's imperative. The Chargers have to figure out a better formula to, when they get down there, to make it hurt and make it count. And I think to go along with getting Oronde Gadsden involved, get him involved early and get your other weapons involved early, like on the first drive, and do it repeatedly throughout the game. Put plays in the game script for Oronde Gadsden II, for Lab McConkey. Get the ball in the hands of Omarion Hampton and Kamani Vidal in the passing game. You need to create some positives early on in this football game. Get your playmakers some confidence, get them involved in the game, get them flowing, get that rhythm going, and I think you're going to see some positive results from that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Getting your playmakers the ball obviously is great. And I think, the one other guy you feel like never gets enough targets is Lad McConkey, right? Get him some more targets. Feed Lad McConkey. Greg Roman said, they were trying to scheme some things up and the things didn't work out last week for Lad, but just doesn't ever feel like it's enough. Lad, obviously their best wide receiver, doesn't feel like he's been getting enough targets, and part of the reason why this passing game has struggled really over the last month. So Oronde, Lad McConkey, running backs out of the backfield, a lot that they can do. Obviously, the one thing you're going to have to do to get to those opportunities, David, is protect Justin Herbert. And that is obviously one of the biggest keys going into every game. But with where the Chargers line is at right now, feels especially important this week.
Yeah, absolutely is. With the beating that Justin Herbert took last week, getting sacked 7 times, getting hit 11 times. And that was just the sacks that, he didn't escape from. It could have easily been 8, 9, 10 sacks in that football game if it wasn't for Justin Herbert escaping, using his legs and getting out there. But yeah, I mean, you have to protect Justin better than that. He cannot see a pressure percentage of 70% and expect to have any kind of positive results in any football game. Justin Herbert is incredible. Like, he found a way. He used his legs. The coverage was tight against the Eagles. Like, they were there. Like, they made things difficult for him, and that pressure was real. You can't have that against the Kansas City Chiefs. You have to have better solutions against that. You have to have better solutions against the all-out pressure, right? Better communication to prevent those protection breakdowns.
Yeah.
You got to have hot reads to your wide receivers, more screens. Get the ball out of his hands quickly. Get it in the hands of playmakers. The screen game is something that I have not seen. It's been almost dormant from the Chargers this season. Like, it has to come back. One of the best ways to slow down a pass rush is to invite them in and then hit them with that screen game. It's going to slow them down, make them think twice, and you need every weapon in your arsenal to protect your quarterback. That includes the screen game and the quick passing game.
I couldn't agree more. And I would also just say, like, don't let Chris Jones specifically take this game over.
Definitely.
There's a point in this season where I thought that dude might be hanging it up after the year, right? You go back to that Jacksonville Jaguars game where Trevor Lawrence falls down twice and he's stuck standing there on the goal line, not really helping his teammates out. And I was like, man, I don't know. The last few games that I just watched of the Chiefs, that man is wrecking games
he was getting
again.
after it. Yeah.
Especially in that last game. He got 8 pressures. And you're looking at a right side of the Chargers offensive line in the last game that had 2 offensive linemen that gave up 8 pressures, and Bobby Hart and Mekhi Becton on that right side. Like, I think another big thing is just Bobby Hart bouncing back to the pre-injury version that we saw earlier this year, which was him playing kind of standing on his head and much better than we ever thought he could. He looked like the Bobby Hart that was kind of inactive in the NFL for a couple of years last Sunday, which is a hard position to be put in, obviously. Mid-game this week, he'll get all the reps, but it doesn't look like Trey Pipkins is going to play. But yeah, I mean, just more communication, obviously. Like, you have to think Spags is just drooling on the other side, seeing the amount of times that the Eagles were able to get untouched pressure up the middle, right? Greg Roman says they're going to fix it. We will see, because they need to do it, because Spagnuolo is one of the better defensive coordinators in the league. So they're going to have to figure it out, because if not, they're going to be just, I think, having Justin Herbert getting hit just as many times as he has been, which is just irresponsible and incredibly annoying, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think another part here, David, obviously, is just one thing that you sent me was the weather report leading up to this game in Kansas City. Feels like very much December football. And I think for the Chargers just in general, especially with the struggling passing game, they have to be able to run the ball. And this week, they're going to have to do it against a better run defense. Like, the Chargers, even if that's not the weakest part of the Kansas City Chiefs, it's a non-negotiable. They have to find a way to be able to run the ball efficiently on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think that pairs very nicely with my last key, which is have more success on first down. Like, that absolutely includes the running game, getting ahead of the sticks, getting yourself in much, much better down and distance situations. And way too often in the last game, the Chargers were in 3rd and 7 or longer, and that just can't happen. That's a one-way ticket to get Justin Herbert put in the dirt. So if you get him in the 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, they're still one of the best third down teams in the league. That would allow them to have more success, and you need that to keep him upright, keep him protected. Part of that is running the football efficiently. And yeah, I mean, hey, he even surprised us being able to take some snaps under center. And obviously, I'm sure that's in an effort to try to get the play action game to be successful. But you got to run the football and actually have a threat there. I like that they allowed him to kind of take it a couple of times on the read option to really kind of provide some deception there. But running the football effectively is going to help you get in better down and distance situations and help you protect the football and hopefully protect a lead.
Yeah, of course, all of those things for sure. And actually, if you listen to the reporting after the game, Justin Herbert was not supposed to take those balls that he did take, and just took regular handoffs and decided to run with it. And it's why you can see Trey here is so confused, trying to figure out who to block on that first one. Where he picks up the first down, he's like, oh wait, that's not who's supposed to have the ball there. But the Chiefs have held opponents to 82 rushing yards or less in 3 out of their last 4, including some really good rushing teams. The Chargers also leaned into extra offensive linemen last week. Trevor Penning was an extra offensive lineman for 8 run blocking snaps last week. Do that if you have to.
More.
The Chargers are averaging 48 rushing yards in their last 2 losses and 159 rushing yards in their last 6 wins. And it doesn't get more clear-cut than that. But we still have more to get into, including our defensive keys for success, which as always is contain Patrick Mahomes, because I think he's going to be a runner in this game. We're going to get into that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. Guys, it's 2025, almost 2026, and those days of waiting for something to become full-blown emergencies before you see the doctor, they're over. No more walking it off for 6 months. No more pretending that weird shoulder stiffness is just sleeping wrong. It's time to take your health seriously, and ZocDoc makes that easier than ever. Because staying healthy is more than just hitting the gym and eating right. It's about actually getting things checked out when something feels off. Using ZocDoc makes scheduling easier. Search for in-network doctors and right in the app, and you can get real appointment times that are listed, including same-day visits. No more back-and-forth phone calls and waiting weeks to be seen. It's super helpful for routine checkups and those little issues you've been meaning to get checked out. And I know we all have something that we've been putting off. We all do it. Now you don't have to with ZocDoc. The app is clean and honestly removes all of the stress of finding the right doctor. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and get the care you need. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Car shopping should feel exciting, not confusing, and with Car Gurus, you get the confidence that you deserve. They cut through all the noise so you can actually see the best deals on the cars that you want, because when it comes to a big purchase, you deserve the best deal. And Car Gurus makes the whole process simple by giving you real information, real deal ratings, and more listings than anyone else, so you can shop the way that you want. You'll love being able to filter by anything, mileage, trim, features, so you're seeing the cars that actually fit what you need, and their price drop alerts are a lifesaver. You get notified the second a car that you're watching becomes a better deal. Car Gurus connects you with trusted dealerships for transparent and hassle-free buying process with over 4 million listings, the most of any major online automotive marketplace. You'll always find the best deal. Shop the way you want with the tools, data, and unbiased deal ratings that make it easy. Buy or sell your next car today at CarGurus.com. That's CarGurus.com. CarGurus.com. David, it's time to get into our defensive keys for success for this game, because I do think there is a path for the Chargers to win this game. But let's be honest, man, you're going to get their best shot. And I don't think the Chiefs are as bad as, many have made it out to be, or even what their record shows. I mean, look at the teams they've lost to. Who's the bad team they lost to? The only non-playoff team, I believe, is the Ravens. They've been good. They beat the Colts a couple weeks ago when they had Daniel Jones. I think the Chargers are going to get their best shot, but there are some things they can do to try to weather the storm. And I think that starts with Patrick Mahomes, because obviously one thing that's killed the Chargers is not just Patrick Mahomes' golden arm, right, and him being able to make all the throws. It's him being able to keep himself alive, getting out of the pocket, and making things happen, right? And also running the football. Patrick Mahomes had 57 yards in the first matchup. He really started cranking it up in the second half, where it was really hard for the Chargers to get off the field. He is going to be all-out mode, right? I mean, he had 59 rushing yards last week. He's going to be trying to pick it up with his feet. If you can stop him from doing that, right, because you have to get chaos in front of him. We talked about it on the crossover yesterday, especially with the banged-up offensive line. You're more likely to turn him over, right? 3 interceptions in the last game, 8 in his last 6 games. Yeah. Almost every Chargers loss to Kansas City feels like it has either a dropped interception somewhere or an interception negated by penalty, right? We all remember it, how many defensive holdings have bailed him out before. But it starts with keeping him in the pocket and not letting him take it upon himself, or getting out of the pocket and finding big plays down the field.
Yeah, 8 games with 30 rushing yards or more, 4 games over 50, including the 59 rushing yards he had against the Houston Texans, as you mentioned. You got to keep a spy on him. In obvious passing downs, if it's not there, he's going to be looking. If it's not their orchestrated quick passing game, which is one of the things I'm going to talk about in a minute, they're definitely going to be looking to try to run with the football. He is so good at just getting away, just in time, just getting away from your outstretched fingertips, getting him on the ground, and he just skirts right past for a first down.
Yeah.
Too many times over the years have I seen that, and the Chargers have to make sure they keep that spy on him, keep him contained, and don't let him continue to extend drives on offense.
Yeah, and it just feels like one of those ones where he's going to be running a lot. and doing whatever it takes, putting his body on the line. And it's always how, when you have them in such a good spot defensively, he finds a way to get out of it. But yeah, I'll lead you right to that second point, David, because one of my keys here is just take away the easy stuff. Have to be able to slow down the quick passing game. Per ESPN, Patrick Mahomes has 77 pass attempts of less than 1.5 seconds. The next closest in the league is Aaron Rodgers at 49.
Yeah.
That's insane. He has almost 30 more than anyone else in the league. They want to get the ball out of his hands quickly. It reminds me of the Tom Brady game against the Chargers the last time he knocked them out, where it was Joey Bosa, yelling at him, telling him to stop getting rid of the ball
so quick, Tom.
That's also kind of in that second half in the last game where the Chiefs started clicking offensively. That's what they went to. They run a ton of RPOs. They love to get the ball out of his hands quickly. You have to be able to take that away.
Yeah, they do. And the reason why they do that a lot is because they have the guy who is the most yards after catch per reception in the league. Of course, I'm referring to Rashee Rice, first in yards after catch per reception at 8.3, which is a crazy number. Also, I found this when I was doing my research here from ESPN. Rice is targeted at the third highest rate among wide receivers against zone coverage, and LEC plays zone at the fourth highest rate in the NFL. This matchup bodes well for Rice to be heavily involved in the passing game. So expect it. Expect them to get him the ball quickly with blockers in front and let him try to use that speed to go get yards after catch, which he does better than anybody else in the NFL.
Yeah, it's crazy that he leads the league in that, and it makes a lot of sense. And the other big part of that is he wasn't there the first time these two teams played, right? So he is the one big difference that they kind of have going for them that they didn't have last time. But I do think that, that's what they want to do and will do if you leave that up to them, right? If you're just going to let them nickel and dime you down the field, they're going to do it. And I think
got to tackle, right?
The other thing is
strong open field tackling.
Man, yeah, and obviously the tackling for the Chargers, especially in that last game, especially special teams,
not good.
Was awful. But the other part of not, giving up the easy stuff, let's not forget that the reason the Chiefs were in that game the first week of the season was because you had a Hollywood Brown wide open on a 4th and 5 for a 40-yard gain. Yeah. And you have a Travis Kelce 30-plus yard touchdown where he's busted a coverage wide open. I mean, that's 2 times where you could have won the game, basically, and you just gave them one. The Chargers have been much better about that recently and giving up those chunk plays.
Yeah.
You can't give them those big ones down the field for free. If they get it, one to Tyquan Thornton in the outstretched hands as he's, running deep down the field, things happen. But I just think that you can't have the busted coverage as you had last time and think you're still going to get away with it. Where would you go with your last key?
Yeah, the last thing is take advantage of a wounded backup offensive line. They got a lot of injuries on their offensive line, just like the Chargers do, and you have to make sure that you take advantage of that. Issa Pole, who played left tackle for them, has played 63 snaps this season. That's it. Not a lot of experience there. That definitely should be something that you should look to exploit. I know he only gave up a couple of pressures, but I'm not going to, just
underestimate
him or overestimate that ability or that performance, right?
Sure.
You got to look at it right in the middle. Also, Wanya Morris and Jawan Taylor both have not practiced through a couple of days this week, so it does not look like they will be available for Sunday. And also Mike Caliendo, the left guard, I guess, or the right guard, who is probably going to be supplanted by their starting right guard. So we'll see. Yeah. But he's been somebody you exploit too. 18 pressures, a couple sacks, a couple of hits, 4 penalties. Bottom line is you have to get after this offensive line. You got to hit Patrick Mahomes. And when you get pressure on him, as we talked about earlier, he likes to throw the ball up, and the Chargers have been very opportunistic at taking the football away, and they got to see that continue if they want to win this game.
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit yesterday on the crossover. I mean, that is one of the biggest matchups because, we talked about also why the Chargers have been able to create so many takeaways over the last 4 games, and a lot of that is the pressure they're generating. The one game where their pressure fell off a cliff, they got beat 35-6 by the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this is my last key, and it might be controversial, but my last key here, hold them to under 20 points. And I think that's what it's going to take. I brought up the weather earlier, but I don't think we actually said it. The KC weather reporters are saying that it's going to be in the high teens to low 20s with negative wind chill when they play on Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's a December football game. I think it could turn into a slugfest, and I don't know in that weather if I trust the Chargers to put 20 or more points up, right? Like it was a slog in the last game, and they put up 22 points. They also had 5 turnovers, really 4 turnovers, right? Because 2 were in one play. But they had 4 turnovers, and they still were only able to put up 22 points. And it's not like there's a significant difference between the defense they played last week, and the defense they play this week. I mean, Kansas City has better points per game than the Eagles are this year. They're different, but this is not like a huge drop-off from what you saw last week. This is another good defense you're going up against. And I also think the Chargers' red zone defense will be a big part of this. Like, you just can't allow touchdowns. Over the last 3 games, the Chiefs have only converted 45% of their red zone drives into touchdowns. Chargers defense has been really good this season overall, but over the last 3 games, they've allowed touchdowns on 70% of their opponent's drives once they get into the red zone. If you do that, you're going to lose against the Chiefs this weekend. But we do have more to get into, including our bold and our game predictions, including if Omarion Hampton can get over 100 yards this week. We're getting into all that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports. Bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stat projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's fast, simple, and it's available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. PrizePicks has added an extra layer of excitement to the holiday sports schedule. Creating a lineup takes less than a minute, and the app makes the whole process super smooth and intuitive. And you can also now get the early payout feature, which is a great bonus. When your lineup starts strong, you may get the option to cash out early. For this game, you go with Omarion Hampton, who we're going to talk about, to rush for more or less than 49.5 yards, and combine that with the ever-scrambling Justin Herbert, going for more than or less than 24.5 rushing yards. It could be a run-heavy game. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. We still have more to get into, and we want to thank the everydayers out there, not only for making us your first listen, but also for contributing into today's bold predictions part of the show, because we've always done these, but it's so much more fun getting your guys' bold predictions on here. And we've already had a few of them come true so far this season. Some even underestimated, especially last week when the Chargers forced 5 takeaways. But we do have more to get into on today's show and want to thank the everydayers. But let's start with this one, David. A guy we've talked about a lot the last couple of weeks. Hunter Palermo says, Omarion Hampton, 100+ rushing yards. His production will decide this game, in my opinion. What do you think?
I love it. I hope that he continues to see his work share increase, as he looked really good in that first game back. Like he ripped off a couple of really nice runs, including that 18-yard run in overtime to really put them and set them up for that game go-ahead field goal. Like, the kid has juice, man. Like he really, really has it. And I like to see him get involved in the passing game with that receiving touchdown. I want to see more of that. And maybe it's not 100+ rushing yards, but maybe it's 120, 130 all-purpose yards. And I still would think that would be incredibly effective. And I've said it before, I truly feel like Omarion Hampton is a catalyst type player, a workhorse type of player. And the more that you give him the football, I think the more good things are going to happen.
You know who I don't want to tackle in 17-degree weather? Someone who runs like Omarion Hampton. Let me be the first to say that.
Dude looks like a monster. Yeah.
I don't think it's an overreaction to say that, his production could end up deciding this game. Like I said, like the Chargers, even against a good run defense and the good run defenses they're going to come up against, they can't not be able to run the football anymore. Justin Herbert, with the protection issues they have, is not going to be able to carry them to victories over the good teams they have left on their schedule. Yeah. So it is a must. 100 yards just for Omarion Hampton. That is bold, because we know Kamani Vidal played 69% of the snaps last week, compared to Omarion Hampton's basically 30%, is going to be on the field because of his pass protecting abilities. But let's get to this one from We Are the Storm, who says, bold prediction, Oronde Gadsden scores 2 touchdowns and breaks 100 yards receiving. We're on the same page here, Storm. That's what I was hoping for when we started the show today with OG. But, man, I do think, especially, for someone who's averaging 14 yards per catch as a tight end, would be twice as many touchdowns as they scored last week as a team. Yeah, sign me up for this one.
Oh yeah, I mean he has the ability. We know it. His separation ability, the way he runs routes, the strong physical hands that we know that he brings to the table. I think Oronde Gadsden is a guy who deserves more targets, more opportunities to show what he can do, because whenever he does get them, he's making the most of them. He's making those catches, those really, really tough physical catches in traffic. Doesn't matter. Give him the chance, and I think you're going to be rewarded.
It just feels like, man, if you can get him going, maybe like we start to see, this offense start to kind of get on track again and find something to, some sort of carryover that they can take into these last games where they're just going to need the offense to be so much better than it has been over this last stretch, even, while winning as many games as they have, right? 5 of the last 6. So, it needs to get better. The better teams are here, and now is the time to get Oronde Gadsden back on track, because we know he has all the ability. But let's switch over to the defensive side, where a different underrated player might get going in this one.
Daniel Davis, a field goal prediction for Sunday. I'm going Pierre Tout, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and 1 more slap. This time on Mahomes. Chargers win 27-17. Let's go.
Yeah, I would never advocate, for the Chargers to intentionally pick up a 15-yard penalty, even though I think, we can get behind Patrick Mahomes getting smacked with a helmet on. I mean, I think, come on. We can be a little bit more savage than that. Yeah, that'd be really funny. I hope the Chargers get up by about 17, and then with 38 seconds left, if Pierre Tout wants to go up and smack Patrick Mahomes across the head, then it needs to get that out. That'd be fine. It'd be a legendary moment, David. Hopefully, though, we're not talking about a game that the Chargers lose because Pierre Tout just got a little too savage.
I would be all for it. That would be hilarious if that happened. I absolutely love the way Pierre Tout plays football. He has an endless motor. The guy is constantly moving forward, and he's a little crazy, which you kind of need that in your defensive lineman. I love the attitude and the nastiness that he brings to the table. And if that were to occur, I wouldn't be mad. I'd probably laugh a couple of times and enjoy it, to be quite honest with you.
Oh, no, it'd be pretty funny. It was really funny when he smacked Travis Kelce, even though it was in a big moment. So, yeah, I mean, it would be nice to see him going. I mean, he has many interceptions, one, as he has sacks in his time with the Chargers since the beginning of 2024. So, Pierre Tout getting more involved in the pass rush game, hopefully, because the edges are making Patrick Mahomes step up in the pocket. I think that would be great. Let's get to this one here from Jackson, though, who says, Chargers continue their dominance on defense and will force 4 turnovers against the Chiefs Sunday, including a fumble recovery for a pick 6. Or 4-6. Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm doing this one, I mean, Jackson underdid it last week. He did say 13 points as part of the bowl prediction, but he said 3 turnovers. I thought that was a lot. And the Chargers ended up with 5. They now have 10 takeaways over their last 4 games, and they were unable to pick off Mahomes in the first matchup.
Yeah, and recently, Patrick Mahomes has been putting the ball in harm's way a lot, and the Chargers should be looking to do what they have done a lot, which is pick off the football. And, a guy who I'd like to see get another interception is the great Tony Jefferson. I want to see him get to 5.
That'd be cool.
That would be a nice, round, beautiful number for him to have in a season where nobody expected him to perform the way that he did. But if the Chargers get I'll just say it this way. If they get multiple turnovers, and no matter where or how they come, they're going to win this game, period. And I think it's massive for them. And anytime they get that, they got to make it hurt. They got to make it count.
Especially with a struggling offense going up against a good defense. Like, you need to help them as much as you can. You did in the last game, and you bailed them out in overtime, which is awesome. But one more here from Andre Montano. We'll go quick on this one, David. Patrick Mahomes will throw for less than 200 yards, while Justin H. will throw for more than 200 yards. That's Justin Patrick Herbert.
I'd love to see it, although I think with the weather conditions coupled with the injury, I don't know if we're going to see Justin go over that amount, even though it's not a large amount of passing yards. Yeah. I just think that the game plan is going to be more centered around getting that ball in the hands of Vidal and Omarion Hampton.
Yeah, and Justin Herbert was awesome the first time these two teams played, and the play action caught the Chiefs by surprise, and he had an incredible passing day in week 1 in Brazil. I remember when 200 was a given for Justin Herbert every week. They were winning, all the time then.
For sure.
But I think I'd rather the Chargers have 200 rushing yards in this game. But I don't think this is crazy to think that this would happen. I understand why it's a bold prediction, though. Let's get into our game predictions here, David. I've been having a tough time with this one all week because we've talked about just how cool it is to get the chance to finish the Chiefs. But like I said a little bit yesterday, like the most dangerous animal is one that's wounded and backed into a corner, and you know that you're going to get their best shot. And I think it's just if this Chargers team can handle a Chiefs team, like I said, who I think's been better than what their record has said, can they handle that and with the version of the Chargers that we see right now? And I don't think they can, and I don't always pick the Chargers to lose when they're underdogs, right? I picked them last week over the Eagles, and I felt good about that one, but I have to go with what I feel here. I don't trust the Chargers offense enough, and I think the Chiefs can do enough against this Chargers defense. I have the Chargers losing this game 20-16, and I hope I'm wrong. It's just a feeling that I have. Maybe I just can't get over how many times we watched the Chargers lose to this team, and that's the scar tissue, but not having Joe Alt this time around is a killer. You don't know. Trey Pipkins looks like he's not going to play. If they had both their tackles, I might pick the Chargers to win by 10 against this version of the Chiefs. But right now, I just don't trust the offense enough to pick them.
I understand it. I get it truly. Whenever the Chargers have found themselves in these situations where they've been able to put an opponent down and take them out, or to be able to advance their playoff seeding, they haven't been able to do it in the past. They've really struggled in those situations to be able to be on the other side, to be on the positive side of history. But there's a reason why I'm wearing all black, and it's because I'm attending a funeral on Sunday when I watch the Chargers eliminate the Kansas City Chiefs from playoff contention and sweep them by a score of 24-21. The Chargers are going to get it done, and it's because nobody expects them to do it. Jim Harbaugh is the guy that's going to change the narrative of that story to the Chargers being on the winning side instead of the losing side.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. I don't think that the Chiefs have the same kind of pass rush that the Eagles had last week. Obviously, Chris Jones is an all-pro, but I don't know if they have the edge guys that the Eagles had last year that just terrorized the Chargers, all around terrorizing. Yeah, man, I hope they can do it, and I think they can. It's just hard to have confidence in an inconsistent offense, but, man, it would be so huge. We're popping bottles Sunday night if they do this and can finish this, because not only are you extinguishing their playoff hopes, you basically lock up your own playoff spots, and then we get to just root for Phillip Rivers the rest of the season since he can't get in the way of the Chargers making it potentially. But
Amen.
That would be awesome, man. It would be a hell of a live show afterwards, and I do think they can do it. I really think the Chiefs are going to be super desperate here, and I think, if the Chargers don't win this one, it could really come back to bite them. Truly, it could, because the tiebreakers and then potentially getting to 10-7. You can eliminate the possibility of them getting 10 wins in this. So I think that's what the Chargers need to do, and I think they can. It's just hard to pick them right now. But make sure you're back here with me, hopefully eating crow on Sunday afternoon. We get into our live show. To make sure you don't miss it, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from, as well as finding the show every day on all of our social media at Locked On LIC on Twitter, at Locked On Chargers on Instagram, and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page. Or you can also call into the voicemail line at 323-524-7924 if you want to get your 30-second Chargers voicemail on the show as well. But you have the axe in your hand, Chargers. You can be the executioner. Go get it done, and we're going to have, some playoffs to look forward to. But we'll be back with you guys on Sunday. Until then, take it easy and go Bolts.